People are at the center of living labs. Users and other stakeholders are key pieces for the success of such initiatives because they bring ideas and challenges, but they also enable innovation and progress. This fourth video is focused on the Living Labs users. We will be using the terms users and stakeholders interchangeably because we are referring to people that have some kind of interest in the Living Lab and that may be using its services to develop their own projects or to support projects from other people. User involvement refers to the ability to identify potential users of a certain product, as well as other relevant stakeholders, and to bring them to participate in the Living Lab and in its design process. It is vital to involve the right users, as it is critical to motivate them and have the right tools for the job, because we are dealing with user-centered solutions. Theory says that when setting up a Living Lab, there are three types of issues to consider: organizational, contextual, and technological. When considering user involvement, organizational issues refer to mobilizing users and other stakeholders and motivating them to be part of the Living Lab's activities, participating in its growth and development. Contextual issues concern the need to understand the background of the users and the circumstances that make them want to be part of the Living Lab. Keeping the flexibility to adjust to each user and to appropriately address cultural differences is a critical feature for open innovation initiatives. Finally, technological issues should be targeting the selection of the right tools to keep users involved and collect their inputs. As you can understand, being able to know your users and stakeholders is a vital part of the process. In order to do so, you can raise many questions and specific issues that should be answered as thoroughly as possible. It is important not only to describe their main characteristics, but it is also essential to understand what they want, how they can create value for the Living Lab, and how can you help them. You can quickly become overwhelmed with questions and with doubts regarding your efforts to discover and describe the Living Lab stakeholders. So, to help you with this task, here are some aspects you should be focusing on. We can summarize like this. Not all potential users will be important to your project, so you should be selecting those who can create more value. Find out how you can motivate those potential users to become interested in the Living Lab and to be actively involved in its activities. Understand their role in the supply chain and their interests, and try to find the right incentives to keep them engaged. Be sure to share information appropriately, considering the cultural background of your potential users, building trust and keeping their personal information private. You want to build long-lasting partnerships. So, you can now start working to engage your users in setting up the Living Lab. This simple task list will guide you along the way, making it easier to select the right tools for the right tasks and preparing your pilot project for the next steps of its development. The LIVERUR Toolbox includes 10 tools that you can use to identify, describe, organize, involve, and interact with your users and stakeholders. With the Stakeholder database, you can keep a detailed record of all your potential users. This is a great tool to start the process. The Stakeholder Matrix allows you to map your stakeholders according to their interests and their power to influence your project or the market you are working on. The Target Group makes you describe in detail each stakeholder, while people shadowing is a perfect tool to understand their behavior. Interviews are great to discuss personal points of view and feelings about particular ideas, while questionnaires provide the means for statistical analysis. People and Connections Map is a way to map your potential users, considering their field of expertise and their area of influence. Personas is another tool to describe your stakeholders through the outline of a fictional portrait. Brainstorming is widely used to collect ideas from different people, finding new ways to tackle several challenges. Finally, Workshops are great to gather a group of people and provide presentations or hands-on experimentation. It seems this is the perfect moment to get back to our case study and show one of these tools in action. The LIVERUR project in the Azores has provided Tarinov, a science and technology park, the opportunity to set up a pilot living lab. This project is focused on the milk supply chain. The implementation of the pilot living lab has been preceded by reports describing this supply chain and identifying potential users of the living lab. However, the report did not describe what kind of relationship should be established between Tarinov's living lab and those potential users. Therefore, we will be using the Stakeholder Matrix to map them and understand the appropriate way for engaging each one of them. The Stakeholder Matrix places the stakeholders according to their influence power and their interest in the project. We should keep an open mind in this analysis and change it along the project if justifiable. We should also use a broad vision considering not only the living lab, but also its socio-economic context and the industry it is targeting. Stakeholders that have high influence power and high interest in the living lab's activities are key players, and we need to keep them engaged and motivated. For those who have high influence power but only mild or low interest in the project, we should be meeting their needs, which sometimes means complying with certain rules or regulations. We should also show consideration to those who have low influence power but high interest, because they can open doors for relevant opportunities. Finally, those with low influence power and low interest in the project should have low priority, although they can also provide occasional tools to increase the project's value. So, the Farmers Federation is a key player for the Azores Pilot Living Lab. It represents the milk producers who have the need to add value to their products, and it has a really strong public voice. The big local dairy factories are key players as well, because they absorb the majority of the local milk's production, and they are struggling to develop competitive advantages in international markets. The University of the Azores, Innova and SIDEA do not have decisive influence power in the milk supply chain, but they are interested in the sector's development, namely in what regards research, innovation and economic competitiveness. So it is important to show consideration, keep them involved and hear what they have to say. The Pilot Living Lab should also be meeting EROA's needs. This is a public body that may not have a direct interest in the project, but since it is responsible for spatial planning and agrarian development, it becomes vital to comply with its rules and programs. Finally, Nonagon, which is another science and technology park in the Azores, is a low priority stakeholder because it is not part of the project's main value chain. However, since it is focused on information technologies, it may be a useful stakeholder in the future, especially for networking purposes. We now have the Living Lab's main stakeholders mapped out. We know why they are important and we have established the best way to interact with them. It is now time to pick up the phone and write some emails. In the next video, we will be planning service creation.